I've been playing quite a fair bit of Modern Warfare 2 beta on the PC.
Before you say anything, we have a question from OG Box Muncher.
Let's hear it.
He says, after playing the Modern Warfare 2 beta, how are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. Some of the maps are kind of hit or miss for me, but overall, I think the guns feel great. I'm completely fine with how they handle, how they sound, how they look. I think one of the maps I really like the one that like sort of takes place in the castle.
The hotel?
I don't know if it's a hotel.
It looks like a castle, but it's a hotel.
Like the outdoor area is like a sort of like castle-y area.
The museum?
I think it's the museum. Yeah, I think it might be the museum. And I like the one that has like the alleys. It's like in a little village.
Yeah, that one's fun. The one that's kind of gray and like overcast.
Yeah.
Destroyed buildings and everything.
I like those too. I really didn't spend a whole lot of time exploring a lot of the weapons. Now that the beta's over, I can't really go back, but I really liked using SMGs. There's only one time I could use the SMG, and that was when I was picking like the Deadeye class, or no, it was a Stalker class. But it had a good sniper and it had a good SMG. So anytime I needed a sniper, I usually picked that class. And I was pretty good at using the sniper, I gotta say. I got quite a few kills with it. I mean, the game modes that I enjoyed most were probably Prisoner Rescue. I'm always a fan of TDM. Like, I always jump into TDMs, especially like when you first start the night. It's like the best way to warm up. Big fan of Domination, of course. What was the other one we played? It wasn't Ground War, was it?
Yeah, they had Ground War in there. They had another one called Invasion.
Yeah, it was Invasion.
Kind of like Ground War, but with NPCs as well. AI.
I liked Invasion. That was fun. I think I had the most fun doing Prisoner Rescue, honestly.
Same.
I thought that was a great addition to the Call of Duty library. We had a lot of just heated matches where it would just like come down to the very end. Like scores would be like 450 to 450, first to 500 wins. Sometimes you would be just down by a whole lot, and just because you rescued both the prisoners, you'd come back and win. I liked how in that game mode, the prisoner rescue gave you way more points than just wiping out the whole team.
Yeah, it's like catching the snitch in Quidditch.
Yeah. But yeah, that game mode was a lot of fun. But I think I still just preferred like regular TDM. Like I've always been that kind of guy that just likes to see how many kills I can get in a single game. See if I can rack up some streaks. I remember the first night I was playing, I was not doing very well. Admittedly, I had a few drinks, so I wasn't in the correct state of mind.
My gun was swaying.
Yes, that's putting it lightly. My second night I did fairly better. Overall, I think the game's a lot of fun. I mean, I pre-ordered the game on a PC because I wanted to get into the beta early. I mean, I don't regret that purchase at all. I knew I was going to buy it, and just playing the beta solidified my expectations.
Glad to hear, Jacob. So you're definitely pretty excited for launch day then?
I am, yeah. I'm much more excited for this than I was. What was it? What came out last year? Vanguard?
Yeah.
That was the first Call of Duty I skipped in a very, very long time.
I'm also excited for launch day for Modern Warfare 2. I have officially played between PS5 and PC probably around 30-ish hours, but most of my time was on PC by far. I probably played at least 18 to 20 hours on PC. I think the game feels outstanding to play. Like you said, I think the guns feel, especially on PC, only because I'm far more familiar with how shooters feel on PC these days than controller. Feels outstanding. I didn't really dislike any of the weapons. Each one I played with I liked. I definitely have my preferences for sure. I've always been an assault rifle guy, so I'm usually rolling around with an assault rifle, but all the guns I used, I didn't feel like any felt totally unbalanced. The crazy thing is too, on PS5 I felt, man, maybe the time to kill is a little high, but then on PC I felt completely different. And I think it's also because a lot of other people had started experimenting more on Weekend 2 with their weapon builds. And I got to a point where my M4 didn't kill very well at all. Like I had to pound in like more than half a clip into people with an M4 unless I was hitting them in the head, which I've always appreciated in shooters, the skill-based type of FPS where hitting someone in the head deals significantly more damage, and it absolutely does in this game. I mean, chest shots deal a lot as well, but if you're hitting people in the head, they're going down pretty quick. All that said, a lot of my initial concerns have kind of gone to the wayside in Weekend 2. So let me pull up this list I have that a lot of people are complaining about, and I'm going to give my thoughts on each one for those that either love it or hate it with Call of Duty. Of course, we want to hear your thoughts as well. I'm going to address all the things that people are talking about most and what I think of them. A lot of people are voicing their desire for a normal minimap. I'm at a place where I could take it or leave it. I completely understand why people want a normal mini-map, but I've gotten to a point where I've played enough on the maps in this beta that I know the maps well enough, and I eventually got to a point where I could expect where people might be camping around certain corners, and I had no problem navigating these maps by the end of weekend 2. I also love that calling in a UAV is significantly more impactful without red dots constantly appearing on the minimap. And I also found it more immersive personally to have to really focus on my environment and audio. I know not everyone can rely on audio, but I hate to be that guy. It sounds harsh, but you can't please everyone. Like, I know some people are hard of hearing, but like video games cater to like the vast majority of people before they do the individuals. I think everyone should have a chance to play every game. I'm not discounting accessibility, but you can't discount the masses for like the few, unfortunately. So I know
I might be jumping ahead on your list, but the audio in the game is phenomenal in my opinion. Like
it's sick.
I heard so many people, because you were so loud when you sprint. Like it's so freaking loud. Like if you just sit still for a second, you can, like, if you know the maps, you can just kind of tell where people are around corners if you just have played them enough, and you can kind of imagine where they are and you can prepare and plan ahead.
Yeah, speaking of both the minimap and the footsteps, I like that the UAVs and even the counter UAVs make a huge impact on the flow of gameplay. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a camper. The only game modes I will sometimes sort of camp in for maybe more than 10 seconds are game modes like search and destroy or prisoner rescue. But that's only if I'm like strictly defending a particular point. But otherwise, I'm like sprinting around like a madman. Even without red dots appearing on the map when enemy teams firing their weapons, I personally, I know not everyone likes this, but I actually liked, like Infinity Ward describes, like I like seeking out the gunshots personally and running toward the fight rather than being glued on the mini-map the whole match. I've always preferred when a game can find a way to help you focus on the game itself rather than like indicators. Now that's another example in Call of Duty that I've never like consciously disliked, but it's something after playing 2 weekends of this, and a lot of 2019 is very similar, of being able to focus and like rely on like the immersive experience of like guns firing and knowing the maps and like having a knowledge where people may or may not be camping or where people could be spawning. That's more enjoyable to me than just solely relying on like the convenience of, oh, there's a red dot on my map, someone's firing over there, let me run that direction. I'd rather hear it and run toward it myself. And the footsteps, I'm sort of in the camp that I still do think they are just slightly too loud. I posted a clip on Twitter a little while ago of me just going on this gun spree. And the only reason I went on that gun spree is because, one, the audio is phenomenal, but the footsteps are so effing loud that I heard all of those guys coming. Yep. So I knew exactly where to run to. But that's one thing that's kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, I liked that. Didn't have to look at my minimap once. I heard them and just ran around and like knew where to find them. But on the other hand, if they weren't quite that loud, it may make me think twice. I don't know. It's kind of a complex situation because people definitely camp because of the footsteps. I can't deny that. I've definitely experienced that. But I cared about it less once I understood the maps and how to deal with those situations. I personally can live without the red dots in the map. I know not everyone's going to like to hear that, but I had a great time by the end of the weekend having knowledge of the maps and all the game modes. I still think Team Deathmatch is not for me. I've had some good Team Deathmatch matches for sure, but it's mostly a bad experience because the spawns, even if you know where people are going to spawn and like can kind of guess based on where people are dying, it's still just complete chaos. Mm-hmm. It's like people constantly behind you and like all around. It's like you can't really have a sense of like how to best approach a team deathmatch in Call of Duty. I've always preferred objective modes. I'll even take domination any day over team deathmatch because I feel like it just flows more, not in a way that necessarily benefits you individually, but there just seems to be this way that it flows that makes it more satisfying to me. Yeah. Anyway, I won't comment too much on the game modes because I think I talked about it last week a little bit, but I think Prisoner Rescue is also a ton of fun. Like you said, we had a lot of close calls, and those led to some of the most exciting matches we had by far. The normal perk system. Since day one of Call of Duty, specifically beginning with Modern Warfare way back in the day in 2007, I've never noticed a massive difference. Actually, I take that back. In original Modern Warfare, you could definitely pick up on the perks. Like Juggernaut was super annoying. Martyrdom was super annoying.
Yeah, there's been some pretty good perks, man.
Stopping Power was extremely deadly. But over the years, specifically in the last couple of Call of Duties, I haven't noticed a massive difference in my performance based on perks. It's almost the way a lot of people talk about the perk system is this, they're acting as if like their whole performance match to match relies on their accessibility to these perks, and I just disagree with that. I will say I think the flash grenades need to be nerfed a little bit because I got flashed in this game countless times where my screen was constantly flashing white. Mm-hmm. And someone made a point on Twitter like, give us the option to like let it flash black instead, because that white light was blinding after a while and it was just driving me crazy. So I'd like to see a slight nerf to that, but I can't remember what the name. It's like battle hardened or something else that sort of reduces that. But yeah, the perk system, they up the speed at which you earn them match to match. That's fine. I'm still trying to figure out what the motivation is to change it completely. Maybe they just like giving players, their idea was let's give them even more of a sense of progression in game where if they're performing well, they'll unlock their perks even faster, giving them a little bonus and reward for doing well.
Yeah.
That could be a motivator, which I don't think on paper is a bad idea. But the system as it is hasn't really bothered me. I've always been an adequate Call of Duty player. I've definitely been better at some than others, but this one I've done really well in so far. So I was given my perks like very quickly in game the second weekend, and I didn't have any problem with that system. I'm kind of fine with that. People are saying slower time to kill. Like I said, it felt slower to me in weekend 2, even on PC. Like I said, if I'm getting headshots, people go down pretty quick, but I'm getting body shots, especially at range. These people survive like onslaughts sometimes. There are even times where I got shot a lot and was amazed that I lived. So that's also kind of a weird one to me. Map voting, I think, is fine, but I've gotten to a point where the only map I'm not 100% crazy about is the museum map you mentioned. Only because there's a lot of, especially in the far, it's kind of hard to describe, but there's a big open courtyard area way off to the side of one side of the map. Yeah. That's just a ton of unnecessary open space that I'm wondering why it's even there. Because I don't think I hardly ever went out there, and I never saw anyone else out there.
I spent a lot of time out there, not going to lie to you.
Just that down in that little crevice?
Okay, not in the crevice, no, but like over by that area, like looking across, like where B usually was.
Yeah, I mean, I would look across to the other end, but I never saw the point of running down to that. I can see like having the dip to get around that side of the map, but having all that space to the side of it, I was like, what is the point of all this? I don't know.
You're right, yeah.
I don't think it broke the map by any means. It's just kind of a weird design choice to me. It could be used for another game mode that we're just unaware of that gives it purpose, but for every other game mode we played so far, I didn't really see the point of it. At first, I did not like the hotel map, but the more I've played on it, the more I've figured out how to navigate it in a way that's helpful, and I actually kind of like that map now. So, map so far, really dig it. I look forward to seeing some classics thrown there. I know that they've thrown some classics in the new Warzone map, but I'd like to see them as standalone maps as well. It'd be cool. Map voting's nice though. I've always liked that, especially in Halo 3. I love map voting. The maps I've played so far, I'm kind of happy with any of them. Like, I wouldn't really vote against any of them so far. But that would be a nice feature. I don't think that's ever a bad thing to have map voting. People also hate the skill-based matchmaking. I'm kind of on both ends of the fence here because at the end of the day, I'd rather not have it because I like matches feeling as random as possible because you can definitely get in the flow. For example, most nights, we'd play a few easy ones and destroy people, and then for the rest of the night it would be balls to the wall. You got to give it all you've got if you have any hope of winning, and it was just exhausting. After like 3 or 4, I just didn't even want to play anymore. And most of the time we'd win too. It wasn't that we couldn't like play well, it was just I felt like I had to try so hard that I wasn't even having fun anymore. It's like, because I always want to win regardless, but if I'm having to try that hard multiple matches in a row, I just get tired of it. And the skill-based matchmaking as is has led to experiences like that. I get it, like on paper it makes sense, like, oh, each match should feel like a consistent level of competition. I disagree with that. That was the beauty of old school matchmaking. Like if I want to go into ranked and like work my ass off, like I have that option.
Exactly.
But in social, I would rather play a few easy ones, one that was like, oh, that was a close call, and then some where I just get my ass kicked, because that makes it more interesting match to match to me.
That's completely where I stand. Like I feel like if you want sweaty hard games, make a ranked playlist instead. Like don't make just the fun quick play, like your typical easy TDM domination matches you're jumping into. Don't make those sweaty. Like I want to go in there and potentially just pop off because I'm 3 times better than everybody else, just randomly. Like I want that feeling. And vice versa. Like maybe someone's like 20 times better than me and I just die 20 times. Like, I'm okay with that.
For sure. Yeah, I'm totally fine with getting my ass kicked every few matches if it means I can have a few breathers in between. Lastly, I'll just comment on the UI. I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point, but I don't like the UI either. And it's funny because whenever I see UI that's this bad, I feel like developers, on one hand, and again, I don't develop games, so I could be totally wrong about this, but from my perspective, it seems like, okay, it's a new game, so we need a new UI for it to feel new. So let's design a new one. And it's one of those classic, if it ain't broke, don't fix it situations, because the UI in like classic Modern Warfare was 10 times better than the one in this game. And it's almost like they change it because they're just bored and like want to change it just to change it. Like sometimes I think that about Apple. They make the most minute changes to their software, and it like looks slightly different.
Yeah.
Because I think the people who design that stuff are just bored and need something to do. So like, let's change it and do it this way instead.
Yeah. I mean, I bet there's some science behind it.
Yeah, on PC, I got used to it and I could navigate it, but it was still just tedious and pointless. And you could just do it so much simpler to make it more pleasing to navigate. So I hope they consider that before launch day.
I definitely found myself a little lost sometimes, like looking, especially when I was having all like my graphical problems, like running the game that one night. Like I was struggling just to find like, where can I set my frame rate to a certain thing? Like it took me forever to find that for some reason. And it just, the menus are a little sloppy. They feel all over the place. I mean, I got a little more comfortable with them once I actually used them several times. And even just like trying to make not trees, but like loadouts. There's just too much going on. Like it's not very simple. There's too much clutter.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. I think I saw someone tweeted, I don't know if there's any validity to this, but Infinity Ward hired former Disney Plus or Hulu employees to design the UI. And if they were joking, like it's pretty accurate because it definitely felt that way for sure. It didn't break the game for me. It's kind of whatever, but yeah, I mean, I didn't have much more to say after last week, but overall, I'm very happy with it. I would, again, all the things people are complaining about, like lower footstep audio, red dots in the minimap, classic perk system. If they decide to do that, it wouldn't hinder my experience. That's fine, but I also don't dislike the game in its current state. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. I'm very excited for day one. Looking forward to the campaign. That's what I'm excited about, is that there's a million studios contributing to this. So within the first 2 weeks, we have a full campaign. We have standard multiplayer, all the fun modes within that standard multiplayer. We have Warzone 2.0. We have DMZ. So a lot to look forward to. On the negative side, one thing I forgot to mention was I only had a few crashes on the first day of the crossplay beta. But after that first day, those were dealt with. But one glitch that I constantly had was at the start of every match, I would drop frames like horribly for the first 15 to 20 seconds. And then I would maintain like 110 to 130 for the rest of the match. But for the first 10 to 15, 20 seconds, I would lag really, really bad. And that didn't happen on PS5, it was only PC. So hopefully that's sussed out, but to be expected in a beta,
Yeah,
of
I didn't
course.
have that.
That's how I feel about it, Jacob. I'm glad we're mostly positive, so I'm pretty stoked for launch
I'm
day.
definitely excited.
A little under a month away, too.